Good afternoon to all the viewers. Welcome to In the Mix, episode 31. As always, my guy Adis Kuchkovic, I'm Jay Boyle. We're now in week 6 of quarantine here in Southern Ontario. And sports are dwindling down, but we're still pumping lots of content for you guys. Obviously, The Last Dance, episode 3 and 4 aired. And we'll touch on a few of the bigger moments of those two episodes. Couple little discussion points based off the NFL draft. Obviously, the biggest and most surprising pick was the Packers taking Jordan Love, number 26. We'll discuss whether they made the right decision there. The Giants somehow managed to take an offensive tackle, 4th overall. I don't know how many times that's happened in the history of the NFL, but I bet it's not a lot.
Leave it to them to do that, though.
David Gettleman, he's always going to make a bold pick, man. Even last year, you take a QB. We're taking Daniel Jones.
Is he going to be your waste man of the day?
Oh, yeah, we can do that. And then the NHL has revealed some of their plans for their return to play, and we'll discuss that plan of action, the potential host cities for each division's games, and whether the NBA could look at something like that, and how their two plans are going to contradict and kind of work together, as they do have shared arenas around North America as well. And Deshaun Hightower, and a very disheartening, sad story, as Deshaun Hightower was an NBA draft prospect, just declared for the draft, and has now been arrested, allegedly charged for murder. So we'll kind of get into that story towards the end a little bit as well. But to kick off, The Last Dance, episodes 3 and 4, was there anything bigger than Dennis Rodman? The two episodes were focused around him, but in the middle of this is the last season, right? That he needed the break after Pippen came back, 97, 98.
Yeah, that's the last season,
Right? Phil Jackson calls Michael Jordan into his office, and then he says, Rodman needs a vacation. And I think Jordan's reaction is probably the same as all of ours would have been. Like, what do you mean vacation? This guy's not coming back.
That was the only thing I told him, it was a different time then. Can you imagine in today's NBA, a player asking a coach, can I just please go to Las Vegas? Knowing that this guy is wild, he drinks, he does drugs, he does all this other thing. And say, can I just go to Las Vegas for 48 hours? I'll come back.
Yeah,
I love Jordan's response, too. You're not getting him back in 48 hours.
There's no way. And Jordan had to go, grab him by the nose ring, and pull him out of that hotel room to bring him back to Chicago. But then...
I think...
Okay, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think this is what made Rodman so special. Because honestly, going into this documentary, I didn't think much of Rodman, to be honest. I know he was a great rebounder, but I didn't think his effect on the Bulls was this big. And, as weird and as messed up as the guy he is, it worked for him. This guy would go out, party, come back, and get you 20 rebounds. Like, what?
Madonna unleashed the beast.
Yeah.
Right? Madonna's the one who showed him, be yourself, be free.
Be yourself.
But what a guy, man. We know Derek Jeter, Alex Rodriguez, those are the kind of the athletes who have dated A-list celebrities. But Dennis Rodman, bang, Madonna, and then Carmen Electra.
That one was shocking to me. I didn't even know that happened.
That one's impressive. So it just speaks to how much we don't know about Dennis Rodman, how much there is to this cat. He's tremendously interesting, and I don't know, he's just an unread book. I think we've only scratched the surface of who Dennis Rodman is.
Oh, 100%.
What was, besides the Vegas stuff, what was the most interesting part of those two episodes for you?
Well, of course, finding out his role on the Bulls, but when I was talking to you before this, was Phil Jackson's part on that team. I knew it was obviously huge because he's one of the best coaches of all time. But the way he molded these guys who are thought as superstars, which you don't see too much in today's game.
No.
But he almost set them straight. He's like, listen, you guys are great. You guys even went to Jordan and said, you're probably the best player in the league, but you don't know how to win, and I'm going to teach it to you. And to me, you don't see it a lot in today's NBA, because one part that I really picked up on is Phil Jackson told Jordan, listen, if I give you the ball every time and you go on and score, if he was 37 points a game, other teams are going to pick up on that. All
Mhm.
they're going to do is just figure out what your team's doing, and now, okay, let's build the defense around Jordan. Figure out a way to stop him, because once you do that, it's all over. This is where I think a guy like Giannis could learn from. If his coach was to be like, listen, Giannis, you're
I
great
was
and
just
everything,
thinking that. I was just thinking
but
today's comparable
defenses are
is
going to
Giannis
figure
and the
you out,
Bucks.
right? That's what I'm thinking, right? Like, and that's what happened. That's why they haven't reached the finals yet, because defenses have figured out how to play him. And once they figured out how to play him, the team had no plan B almost.
Yeah. So, and I think that even like I don't know, I'm stumbling here, but Phil Jackson, like the graduation from Doug Collins, Jordan talked about, right? Where
Yeah,
Jordan loved Doug Collins because, well, he catered everything towards Jordan and what Jordan wanted to do
yeah,
and played that style. And then Phil comes in, and you see, he kind of did the same thing with Kobe, teaching him how to use Shaq as well. And that's why
yeah,
he's the greatest coach ever. And we were just talking about it before we recorded, where having a great coach to a great player is so undervalued. You can have the elite players like Kevin Durant, LeBron James, but if
yeah.
they never get the Phil Jackson, the Greg Popovich, the guy from who now runs Miami, whose name is slipping my mind, GM there,
Ooh.
Pat Riley,
Pat
right?
Riley, Pat Riley. Yeah.
If you don't have those type of coaches, I don't think you can hit your peak and really achieve what you expected to or actually are able to, right?
Yeah.
Like look at LeBron James. Yeah, great. He's had 3 titles, but I don't know. Can you say if he was under a Popovich or Phil Jackson or Pat Riley, somebody like that he would
Yeah.
have had more? I think that's a very valid argument that you could say that LeBron could allegedly have 5 or 6 titles at this standpoint. In those finals,
Exactly.
it's not so easy. Look at
Especially early on when he was trying to figure everything out.
yeah, like sure this year he's playing point guard,
Yeah.
but even with the Cavs, with the Heat, everything was going through him, right? Kind of like that
Exactly.
Jordan offense under Doug Collins. So
That's what I was saying. It's all about
right?
Jordan. Yeah.
And I think it was Nick Wright or Chris Broussard saying the way teams always play with LeBron James on them, it's every possession down. It's either LeBron gets the hockey assist, it's the pass to a basket, always getting
Yeah.
the assist, always getting the basket. He has to orchestrate everything. Now it's more front and center with the Lakers because he's playing point guard, but it's been like that more or less his whole career wherever he's gone. And he's never really had a team system that's worked out like the triangle in Chicago or in LA under Phil Jackson.
Yeah. Exactly. And like, hey, this is directed to all the old heads that always they hate LeBron, because I feel like everyone that's on this debate between LeBron, you don't do the debate to me, but
Yeah, we're
everyone
not
that's on
even
the side
we're
of
not even
Jordan,
doing the debate here. We're
yeah,
just making a point that how much coaching impacts great players.
yeah, and not even that. You gotta put some respect after watching that on LeBron, thinking, yo, this guy had to figure this all out almost by himself, right?
Yeah,
Like he had to figure out, okay, I don't have. He didn't have the Greg Popovich. He didn't have these coaches. So you got to figure out how to win a championship with your team. Obviously, he had help of a lot of stars, but sometimes it takes more than that.
do you think I saw Kendrick Perkins tweeted LeBron
Yeah.
has never had a Scottie Pippen? Do you think
Ooh.
that that's valid? Now he's never had a guy a number 2 for the duration that Jordan had his Pippen,
Yeah.
but I think you can say Dwayne Wade, Kyrie Irving, just like that elite number 2. He has had that.
The thing was though, what Pippen was to Jordan was like what we talked about so before, a point forward, right?
Yeah,
Completely different. LeBron is the point forward. So has he ever had a Pippen with him? No, obviously. But he's had guys like Dwayne Wade. Those are all great superstars, right?
yeah. And
So
that goes back to why at the trade deadline I was saying it's so important for the Lakers, I thought, to go get a Derrick Rose or a ball handler to let LeBron be off ball, and then he
a
can
little
do
bit,
the
yeah.
Pippen you can do the Pippen point forward role as opposed to being the point guard so much and having all the focus on him, right? We've
Yeah.
seen LeBron off the ball. That's when he was at his best in Miami, Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, right? He's
Yeah.
lethal. But no, back to the Bulls. We watched a clip from 2019, Dennis Rodman on the jump with Scottie Pippen,
Yeah.
and he said that Scottie Pippen invented the point forward. Do you agree with that statement?
I can't argue it. I think it's true.
Now,
In the position. But then there's also other guys that could have played a forward, but like a Magic Johnson, right?
That's what I was just gonna say.
But
It's
playing point guard.
to me,
But I feel
it's
like a
yeah.
forward to step up to play point, probably the first I've seen is
But now
Pippen.
remember, Magic Johnson, 6'9" when he came into the league, right? Started
Yeah,
as a shooting guard, and then entering year 5 became a permanent point guard. Still, at
yeah,
times on the court, was playing small forward, even played power forward. I was looking at box scores, but he was listed as a power forward, right?
uh-huh.
So Magic Johnson, for his
Yeah,
career, averaged 19.5 points, 11.2 assists on 52% shooting. He's 6'9", right?
Pippen.
Pippen averaged 16 points, 5.2 assists for his career.
Yeah,
Pippen's highest assist total was 7.1 to 7.2 in 1992. And the rest of
yeah,
his career, he was around 4.8 to 5.2.
yeah.
Magic's first year playing point guard, he averaged 21 and 13 assists. Magic was putting up 20 and 13 when Pippen was a freshman in college. He made the point forward, even though he maybe didn't start as a small forward or a power forward.
Exactly.
The
Yeah.
way he played was that. And later in Magic's career, he became a little bit more of a scorer, going from averaging, 19, 20 to 22, 23, and assist numbers came a little bit down. So to me, I think it's Magic Johnson just in terms of a guy who played that style of basketball, regardless of position.
Yeah, but I feel like you don't see the same numbers in Pippen because Pippen was not as an elite passer like
No,
LeBron James or
or
Johnson or
Johnson. I
yeah,
think Magic Johnson and LeBron James are the best playmakers we've ever seen in the league.
yeah.
And
But Pippen had to play that role though, because
he did.
again, a guy like Phil Jackson, it's like you play this role and you win the championship because this is exactly what we need.
Now, I think it was just kind of wrap up the last dance discussion.
Yeah,
Isaiah Thomas had a lot of comments even after the
yeah,
episode aired, right? And because after the Bulls lost to the Pistons in 1990, then they won 91. 1990, after they
mm-hmm.
lost, they started hitting the gym. And Isaiah Thomas said, "You shouldn't be rewarded for lifting weights. High school kids lift weights."
He doesn't
You
get it, bro.
and then Isaiah Thomas also said that him not shaking hands after 1991 is why he was left off the Dream Team. But then, correct me if I'm wrong, he had a whole reunion with Magic Johnson filmed in Staples Center where Magic Johnson apologized for keeping him off the Dream Team. So I think Isaiah Thomas is a vastly underrated player, but I don't know
Yeah.
what's going on in his mind and the statements this guy's saying, because everything he's saying is kind of contradicting what he's done in the past.
But the thing is, I didn't know how real this Jordan Isaiah Thomas beef was.
Oh, you
Because
can
like
see it.
even now when they're showing Jordan, look what Isaiah Thomas had to say about the not giving you a handshake after the
He's
game.
like, nah.
Because I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it.
He's like, I
Like,
know
he's
it's
not
make
even,
excuses. He
the
hates
thing
him to
is,
this day.
the thing is though, I'm on Jordan's side on this. That's a punk move, man. You guys just lost the Eastern Conference Finals. You do not just not shake the team's hand.
Yeah.
And Isaiah Thomas, I didn't like how in that documentary he pushed it onto Lambier. He was like, "Oh, he came up to me and told me, yo, we're
Yeah.
not shaking the other team's hands. We're getting out of here." You didn't want to shake the other team's hands to begin with, too. And he was saying, "Oh, it was a continued thing." And then Jordan's like, "No, because when we lost to you guys, I came and shook everybody's hand, and I hugged everybody
Well, he was
to
saying,
show my
the
respect."
Celtics didn't shake our hands.
Yeah,
Larry Bird and those guys were walking off.
that's where you lead. That's where a guy like Jordan leads by example, right? He doesn't just, okay, these guys didn't shake my hand, so from now on I'm not shaking anyone's hand ever again. No, he's like, you know what? I'm gonna show respect and I'm gonna shake your hand. And if you won't give that back, then there's beef.
Or yeah, that's just sportsmanship, man. Whether it's
Yeah.
professional sports at the highest level, or it's youth sports, AAA hockey, or men's rec league.
Yeah.
After a game or a playoff series, show some respect, shake a guy's hand, tell him good game. You might say F off to a couple guys, but still shaking their hands, right? And sometimes you do see line shake brawls and punches. Sean Avery, notorious for doing that against New Jersey Devils after Eastern Conference Finals.
That's a whole different story. That's a physical sport. Then
Yeah. But if hockey does it religiously, it's not even a question, right? Like
yeah,
those guys, it's a war, right? Put basketball
it's a
aside,
battlefield.
it's a war. And then after every series, no matter what happens, Pittsburgh Penguins, Philadelphia Flyers, I think it was 2011, 2012, one of the craziest quarterfinal series in the history of the world. right? Like there was brawls every game. Guys don't fight in playoff hockey because nobody wants to miss 5 minutes. Nobody wants to risk breaking a hand. These
Or
guys
get
were brawling
suspended. Yeah.
every game, and then after the series, you line up and shake hands. That's their biggest rival. So it's
I
just
know.
no scummy move on the side of the Pistons.
Yeah. And again, we talked about this earlier too. The whole back then it was a physical era. Guys in today's NBA wouldn't be able to handle it. Listen, the physicality and all that stuff. It was, and this documentary was shown that ain't gonna win you games. It happened, and they did show it happening a
So
lot
what do you mean
more
it wouldn't win
often
you
than it
games?
happened.
It won the Pistons two championships.
Yeah, but they didn't win because they fought the other team. You
No,
know,
okay,
like the
okay,
parts where
not the
they're
fighting, not the
physical,
fighting. Yeah,
right? You know what I mean? Like even when they play the Bulls in Game 4, and Rodman throws Pippen, and Pippen almost gets injured, whatever, falls on the floor, just sits up, calms down, looks at him, and be like, "Yo, we're whipping your ass in basketball." That's all it is. Like, you know, being physical and fighting and doing all that stuff that has nothing to do with basketball, and not even that. Please show me the guy who's gonna do that to LeBron. 6'9", 240 pound. Like, I'm
freight
not
train.
even happening. Okay.
I think the difference is people get so influenced by the Pistons. From what I've seen in the YouTube clips and the research I've done on the era, Pistons
Yeah.
are really the only team that were that physical
That's what I'm saying. I
during
feel like it
play,
all
right?
came from them. Yeah.
And look at those clips they showed. Jordan wasn't finishing through that contact. It was
Exactly.
so it's
It was
not
a
like
foul, like
yeah,
it
it's
would
not
be
like
in
he had
today's
this.
game.
It's not like he had this innate ability. It's a foul, and you go shoot your free throws just as it would be in today's game. So I don't know when you say, "Oh, guys in today's NBA want to be able to play in the old school era," I think that's a phony argument that old heads like to hold on to just
Yeah.
because they think they're tougher than millennials and stuff.
Well, when they say that to me, all you're really saying is, in today's basketball, it's more about basketball, and back then it wasn't.
Yeah,
Is
it's
that a
more
bad
about
thing?
beef.
Like, you know?
Yeah. All
Yeah.
right. Anything else left to say
Not really, but
on the
these
last
last two
dance?
episodes of The Last Dance really got me into this series. I'm
I
excited for the
think
next
I
two.
think they were way better than the first two.
Oh, 100%.
When the second episode finished, I was like, all right, whatever. Like I was texting you, I was like kind of underwhelming. When the fourth episode
Yeah.
finished, I'm like, oh shit, it's done already.
Yeah.
Like I was
And yo,
upset.
I have a question. I'm hella confused here. Because I watched, this is, okay, this is a little, it's an on topic and off topic. I watched two documentaries. I watched The Last Dance and I watched this other thing that they had on TSN about Muhammad Ali.
Okay.
In both those documentaries, I seen footage of both athletes, of Jordan and Muhammad Ali, filmed with like a freaking 4K camera. You know when Jordan wins his in 1990 when he wins the championship
First
finally,
championship, yeah.
and
That
the
didn't look
cameraman,
4K.
bro, no, listen, the cameraman. There's one scene where the cameraman follows Jordan, like where he's getting picked up and hugged by everyone,
Mm-hmm.
and then I don't know, it looks like the guy could be filming on a cell phone camcorder, maybe it's an actual camera. But they're following behind Jordan, and it was the most crystal clear. You could see the sweat on Jordan. And then same, I was watching the Muhammad Ali documentary last night too, and they have a footage of him at training, and he was like looking at himself in the mirror, and this thing was so crystal clear that like I was like, this has to be CGI or something. Is this real? Like I've never seen Muhammad Ali like this. I'm just wondering how they're getting these old footages and changing the resolution
Or is
for
it a
these documentaries that are
conspiracy?
coming in today, bro. Huh?
Or is there a
Yeah,
conspiracy
so
at
I had
hand
HD
where
camera in 1991 of the
yeah,
Jordan's championship
yeah,
game.
I don't know, it's a good point. Technology's crazy. I guess they enhance the footage, right?
It's crazy, but that's what I'm liking from these documentaries I'm seeing today. You know, like you're kind of seeing these athletes in a light that you haven't really seen them in. I'm like, bro, is this happening right now, or is this 1991?
No, but it's crazy during those episodes when because they go back and forth, right? Like they're starting from
Yeah.
the beginning of Jordan's career, and then they're also like in this
Mm-hmm.
episode they go to 97, 98.
Nice, like little
They're-
flashback
When
stuff.
they're showing the clips of like 88 to 91, it's like, okay, I think that's Jordan. And then
Yeah.
98, it's like, oh god, this is normal basketball. Thank God, I can actually see
Exactly.
what's going on. I can't imagine watching games back then. Like I know you don't know that it could be better, so that's the difference for us.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, man! Like squinting
The
to see
commentator's
players
job
running.
was serious back in the day, bro. You have to
Oh,
tell
you
the
had
viewer
to. You had to.
everything.
It's like listening on radio now.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, but I don't know. I'm enjoying The Last Dance. I'm excited to see episode 5 and 6.
Do we know what's the storylines of the next two episodes?
Yeah, the Utah Jazz apparently. Because right at the end of the fourth, they lose to the Jazz, who was the favorite to win in the West. So they're saying, oh, there's gonna be a meetup in the finals.
Yeah.
So I
See
think it's
if
gonna start looking at Malone and like all those other guys.
yeah, it doesn't really say it over here.
I'm
It's time
guessing.
for a
I
documentary.
like a little bit of, suspense, but I don't know what's gonna be in the next episode. So
Yeah, no, but everybody knew somehow. Everybody was saying that these episodes are going to be Rodman. We've been hearing that for 7 days since episode 2
that's
aired.
true. But it's crazy to think though, like watching this documentary in when they're playing '91, and when they're like, "Oh, we lost last year to the Pistons. We're about to play." I got for some reason, maybe it's because we've been held out of sports for so long. I got hella excited. I was like, "Yo, how is this Detroit series gonna go?" Even though I know,
Yeah,
you know,
I
I'm
was like,
talking about like that's the impact of sports.
it's exactly like what we're saying about when each of us rewatched Game 7 Raptors and Sixers, right?
Exactly.
My
Yeah.
brother was like, "What's wrong with you?" Because I was screaming at the refs, yelling at Kalo to calm down, saying like, telling Kawhi, "Why is he passing up that shot? Why is he forcing a shot?" It's just it gives us an escape, right? When our lives don't feel great right now, and you just get that 2 hour glimpse, whether it's those episodes or the 2 minute kind of highlight of that 91 game you're talking about. It just
Yeah.
makes you forget about the crappiness around us right now outside in the real world.
Exactly. Yeah. Get that little itch again. Want those sports back.
All right, I think that wraps up this segment.
Right.
Heading it over to the NFL draft, the most
Yep.
surprising pick by far. Well, I don't know. You could debate the Giants taking an offensive tackle fourth,
Offensive tackle.
or the Packers taking a QB at 26. That's where we'll start. How
Yeah.
how surprised were you that the Packers took a QB with Aaron Rodgers being 36?
Hella surprised. I didn't see it. I didn't see Rogers falling, like at least decline. Like he is declining, but I thought they would still stick by him. He's only 36 years
They say
old.
they are sticking by him.
Okay, listen, they say that, but actions prove otherwise because their action was to pick up a QB who, from history of the Packers, as I told you earlier, is in 2005 when they drafted Rodgers, they had Favre. 2 years later, Rodgers was their starting QB. And you
Mm-hmm.
did tell me that you think Rodgers only has 2 years left in him.
Well, they're 2 good
So
years, I think.
are they really sticking with Rodgers or are they preparing for after Rodgers?
I think they're preparing. Um,
Well, clearly they are if they're going to pick up a
yeah,
QB, but
I was definitely surprised. One, at that they took a QB. Number two, at the QB they took. Jordan Love was projected a first-round QB, but
yep.
looking at what he did last year, he didn't do what Rodgers did his last year of college. This guy threw 20 touchdowns, 17 interceptions, and didn't have a great 2019. After the coaching change, everybody said he struggled. Well, you're going to have a coaching change in the NFL. And I know he's not going to probably throw a pass for 2 years, well, meaningful pass. He'll probably
Yep.
he'll get preseason
Preseason
action
passes? Yeah.
and he'll get some action if Green Bay goes up 30 points or down 30 points.
Yep.
But I think it was the dual effect, them taking a QB and the QB that they took, right? If they had moved up or even if they took Jalen Hurts, who slipped to the second round, I would have been less surprised if they took Jalen Hurts, I think.
Really? I know. I was gonna say. I was surprised Jalen Hurts only made it. Like only got picked in the second.
Yeah, I think there's
But I guess.
questions about his decision making.
But like so last year I think it was what 2 games in Rodgers gets injured to the season. Is this just them thinking like, hey, like this could happen again, and
No,
we don't want like.
Jordan Love is not the answer if Aaron Rodgers gets injured.
I was
Next,
gonna say what type because if I'm being honest, I don't know much about Jordan Love at all.
he's
Is he Is he
he's
like I'm assuming a passing quarterback, right? He's
he's a
not running.
passing quarterback. He's got the ability to run though. He's not going to light it up for 100 yards a game, but he's mobile.
He threw 20 touchdowns, 17 interceptions. Maybe they can work on those
Yeah,
interceptions.
yeah,
But if they maybe they picked him up because they see some similarities in his style of play to Rodgers.
yeah.
He's not as successful as Rodgers was in college, but like if the play style is similar, because they have a good O line and their defense is obviously great. So like maybe they're like if Rodgers does get injured, he can fill the spot enough to win a few games.
I don't know. For me, if you wanted a safety blanket, if Aaron goes down, That's
Yeah.
Jameis Winston, not
Ooh,
Jordan
that's
Love.
a. I don't know about that though, because think about it. It's easier to mold and incorporate a guy into the way your team plays, everything, play style, and everything. A guy who's first year in the NFL compared to a guy like James Winston,
Can't
who's
teach you
already
no
played a
dog
few
new
years,
tricks.
established himself, has not an ego, but like, you know, he
He
thinks of
feels he's an
himself
NFL
as a top
quarterback.
quarter. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, how open is he going to be to, okay, well, this is how we're playing in Green Bay, and this is what we want you to do.
Well, I think of it more as I said to you a couple episodes ago, where I agree with some guys saying that Jameis should go to either Pittsburgh or Green Bay.
Yeah.
Probably better Pittsburgh. He's a lot more similar to Big Ben, but just to learn behind an elite QB and good QB coaches, right? And I think Jameis, if he had to step in for a couple games, would be a much better stopgap than Jordan Love at this point in their careers. Like Jordan Love is not going to be an NFL QB for at least a couple years, like ready to play in
Yeah.
the NFL and effective, in my opinion. 28th
But
overall pick, come on.
that's what I'm saying. As you said, also, you think Rodgers has about 2 years in him. So I don't think they brought in Love to be like a QB yet.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
what I'm saying.
they
Because
brought
you
him
had
in
you
to
had
mold
said,
him
oh,
to
they
the
see the
system.
similarities, and if next year he gets injured, no, I don't. If Aaron Rodgers gets injured next year, I wouldn't be surprised if Jordan Love is not even the guy to go in. I don't know who the third string
Really?
is, but it's probably going to be a veteran of some sort, and I wouldn't be surprised if that guy goes in over Jordan
So I
Love.
was gonna say if
Because
Rodgers,
you don't want to harm a guy's development before he gets a chance, right? If he's not ready to go in,
starting off early,
you don't want to throw him in just because you need a QB in there. That can damage in any sport. You can damage a guy's development.
isn't that kind of what the Giants did though?
Well, no, they put Daniel Jones in as a choice. Eli was not hurt. I said you should have kept Eli in there
Yeah,
to
but
tank, but
a lot of people are thinking, is this a little too early to throw in Daniel Jones? Is
yes,
this gonna ruin
and
his
you know the way
development?
I feel about the Giants management, and that coach who made that decision, Pat Shermer, has been fired. So
Yeah, but he won them the first 2 games he came.
yeah, against Tampa Bay, Jameis Winston, who threw a pick at the end of the game,
Yeah.
and
Okay, fair
that
enough.
that one extra win took us from having the second overall pick
Yeah.
to and getting Chase Young, an elite defensive end, to getting an offensive tackle, Andrew Thomas, fourth overall. But let's continue. Let's hold off on the Giants for a second.
Yeah.
Now,
But
do you think the Packers made the right decision?
picking up a QB?
Yes.
Yeah, since I don't know a lot about this guy, I, I can't say no and I can't say yes, but I'm kind of leaning towards the yes side. Because again, if you have a guy, a starting QB who's on a decline, it's better to start early into bringing a first year quarterback and molding him into your system so that once we do get rid of Rodgers and it is time to switch up, this guy's ready. You know, he knows everything. Like,
Now,
I don't know. I feel like it was a good decision.
I would have to disagree. Take a guess here. Since Rodgers was drafted in 2005, guess how many offensive players the Packers have taken in the first round? So in 15 years, guess how many offensive players taken in the first round?
2.
One, Jordan Love.
Off that one.
Year after year, they have disgraced Aaron Rodgers through the draft,
Yeah.
through free agency, through trades. And this year takes the cake. It's a slap to Aaron's face to have your first offensive first round pick be a QB to this guy. This organization has a philosophy of defense over offense, which I totally understand in lots of sports, right? But you still have to put points up on the board to win games. Aaron Rodgers, sure, he's declined. Still last season, you end up 13-3 with a fake run game. Devontae Adams is your best receiver, severely injured last season. You lose in the NFC Championship game. You could legitimately say if the Packers, because Packers O-line was struggling against the 49ers and Rodgers had no time, if they had a real run game or another receiving option, that they may have had a chance to beat San Francisco. All right? But hey, they didn't because they've never addressed it. What happened? Randall Cobb, they let him walk in free agency, go to Dallas. Jordy Nelson, they let him walk in free agency when he was Rodgers' best ever receiver and left.
Yeah.
And now you can't expect Rodgers. Rodgers is a guy who, in his prime, we thought might be one of the best QBs of all time. But at that time, still, he had guys like Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb. When he doesn't have those guys, you can't expect him to be putting up 30 points a game and winning with your defense or even 28. It's not feasible. Like, this
Here's
is
the
about,
thing.
but for me, this is about so much more than just this year. This is about 28 years of having Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers back to back, two Hall of Famers, two elite quarterbacks in the history of the game, and only coming away with 2 Super Bowls, one each. And that's not going to change. They needed to improve their offense this offseason, and they've done zero to do that. And the worst part is, what is their GM's name? Brian Gutekunst. When he was asked about taking Jordan Love, he said,
Yeah.
we followed our philosophy as we do every year, and we took the best available player. That is such a load of crap. You cannot tell me for 15 years, not one time in the first round at your pick, that an offensive player wasn't the best available player. They're just blowing smoke up Aaron's butt, and I'm shocked that this guy hasn't asked for a trade yet. I thought he should have asked for a trade 3 years ago. He stuck by. He's a loyal guy, and it's biting him in the ass now. You have 2 years left of Aaron Rodgers, and to not try and go and win, man, it's disgraceful.
Here's the thing, though. As much as you could say that this is a slap to the face, and I do agree with in that sense that this is kind of being disrespectful towards Rodgers. He's a product of this.
What do you mean?
As I said, in 2005, they had Brett Favre. I'm just looking up his stats right now. Brett Favre in 2004 had a completion percentage of 64% and threw 30 touchdowns.
Pretty good.
And they still went into the draft and picked up Aaron Rodgers. So now if you're Aaron Rodgers, 15 years later, same thing's happening to you. As mad as you can be, you were a product of this. You were kind of the start of this.
Yes,
so
but
we've tried with you. They did their best with Rodgers. They did win a Super Bowl.
They did not do their best. They did not try their hardest. To me,
Did they win a Super Bowl though?
One in 15
is
or
good.
13 years of Aaron Rodgers playing. This is a
Yeah.
guy. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
He's top 10 all-time QBs undisputedly. You can put him in the top 5. You can even say you can make a case that Aaron Rodgers in his prime is top 3, top 2 QB all time. And to only come away with 1 Super Bowl is another embarrassment, is the problem here. 28 years, Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers only have 2 Super Bowls. This is an organization, correct me if I'm wrong, this is an organization who prioritizes money and just, being all right and securing the bag over winning.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
Like, okay.
And then teams like that, they bother me. Because the name of the game in all professional sports is to win. And year after year, they have not set up their team and used their tools to the best capabilities to win championships.
So how bad do you think, how bad was Rodgers to you last year compared to the Rodgers that you know?
I'd say if regular Aaron Rodgers is an AA+, this year he teetered between a B to an A-. Like, he had some really good games, put enough 100 yards, and he had some games when he had 180 yards.
So as much as you can shit on the development of Green Bay and what they're doing, they kept that team was the top of the division. Like you said, they had 13 wins, even with a declining quarterback.
And their defense was
built to win games. So.
Yes, I totally understand that. So now, how do you get over the top? If your offense wasn't good enough and your defense was great last season, well, you improve the O-line. You go and get some receivers. You go and improve your running game, all of which they haven't done this offseason.
But they've had receivers before on that team,
dude.
They've had Rodgers play with them.
And as soon as those guys need to get paid, because they had good chemistry with Aaron Rodgers, they're gone. Randall Cobb needs to get paid. See you later. Go enjoy Dallas. Jordy Nelson needs to get paid. Who's the best receiver and combo that Aaron Rodgers ever had? Nah, see you later. Go to Oakland. Like,
here's the thing, though.
These year after year slap him in the face and do not provide him with the tools. And they don't want to win.
Have we seen the best of Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah. No shit.
So why keep building around him? Why not?
No, but that's why I'm saying
refreshing.
I'm saying this goes so much past this year. It's sure we're talking about this year, but it's year after year. It's 28 years of organizational philosophy that is the issue here. Like, and look at QBs in the past, right? You don't need Aaron Rodgers to be elite to win a Super Bowl. Tom Brady has won Super Bowls just 2 years ago as a game manager, scoring only 13 points, right? Peyton Manning, second Super Bowl, game manager. John Elway, both of his Super Bowls as a game manager. You can do it that way. But yet, the Packers are struggling to understand that they still have at least 2 years of contending for Super Bowls with Aaron Rodgers.
But
Am I
here's the
wrong?
thing: what happens that
Like
you
I
don't
think
pick.
contenders next year, but there's no way they're winning a Super Bowl next year. They need to improve that
But here's the
offense. They're
thing:
not.
you don't pick a quarterback now. 2 years later, you lose Rodgers. All you're left with is to trade for a quarterback. Maybe. Like maybe pick up another one, but now you
Move it
just
on
lost those
next
2
year.
years of
You
development.
don't have to trade. There's always free agency. Look how many QBs move spots this year. You can get good QBs even in the second round. You saw Jalen Hurts, and say they went out and win a Super Bowl next year. Wouldn't you trade that? It's about winning championships. Wouldn't you trade not taking QB this year and maybe after Rodgers retires, you have a year of a rebuild? Wouldn't you trade that for a championship? Then okay, we have Jordan Love, who may or may not turn into Aaron Rodgers' replacement.
Okay, but they have clearly Green Bay has a pattern here. They stick with their quarterbacks for years, right? They choose one, develop them.
Well,
This is the system. We're keeping you in the system for forever.
Whether they got lucky or they knew Aaron Rodgers was going to be this great.
Because they had Favre for numerous years, and then now they moved on to Rodgers, and they kept him for about 15.
Now here's the thing I want to point out, though.
Yeah.
They kicked Brett Favre out of Green Bay, right?
When
kind of pushed him to retirement. When he wanted to come out, they said, no, we have Aaron Rodgers. We're sticking with him, which is fine. Okay? But you don't have to force Aaron Rodgers out. Now you do. You took Jordan Love. What are you going to – if Aaron Rodgers is still playing well, you're going to keep this kid sitting on the bench for 5 years and waste him? No, you're going to put him in there and you're going to – Aaron Rodgers, I'm saying, is going to have 2 more years at least where he's good, can contend. It might be longer. He might still be a feasible QB after that. And if he's only just feasible, you can still get a higher QB 1 year, 2 years down the line. If you don't take a QB this year, you're not screwed for the rest of your future.
But listen, I'm telling you, the Green Bay system does not work like that.
Green Bay system is broken.
Draft a quarterback and work on him.
You're going to say, oh, Aaron Rodgers got a Super Bowl. And to me, that's a loss. Only having 1 Super Bowl for this guy's career.
They got a championship out of both their quarterbacks.
Dude, you cannot tell me in 28 years having those 2 quarterbacks. I'm sorry to beat the same drum, but you cannot tell me that is a success, bro.
I get it, but as you just told me right now, the best of Aaron Rodgers we have seen. You will not get a better Aaron Rodgers.
No, for sure.
What you've had before.
But you tell me this. Sure, his best is past him. But do you think if they give him the tools, he could still win a Super Bowl?
At this point, no.
What?
A Super Bowl, no.
Last season, you don't think if he actually had a running game and some receivers that they could have potentially beat San Francisco?
And then go on to beat Kansas City?
Well, you never know.
That's where I'm aiming at. You got to look at the landscape. You don't just look at your
you just fold that, and that's what I don't like about team professional sports. To just fold. You're right there, and you say, look at. We're just talking about the Last Dance, right?
Yeah.
What did the Bulls do when the Pistons kept beating them? How the hell are we gonna beat these guys? Figure out what way, and you cater towards it. You build your team to beat them. Do whatever you can, right? What did LeBron James do when the Celtics were beating him? All right, I'm going to Miami and do whatever I can to beat the Boston Celtics. And the Packers did the complete opposite. You're telling me they're just folding in. They're waving the white flag.
Beast, bro.
Waving the white flag. See you later.
Listen, if they can, what's it called? If they just drafted Love. If they can get 60% from Love what they got from Aaron Rodgers, it's a success. You're not talking shit.
Yes, I am. If you get 60%, that's not that good.
Aaron Rodgers? You were just talking about he's a top 10 of all time.
Yeah, 60% of him, though, I don't know.
But I'm saying
80% is pretty good.
I feel it's time to move on from the Rodgers era. Because he ain't going to get you another championship. And for damn sure, if they got him a wide receiver, he was not going to get it.
See, but you're saying, they can't beat Kansas City, right? But Kansas City's defense is suspect at best. And we talked about how they suck at stopping the run, right? So if you go out and you improve your run game and your O-line, then you keep your good defense, you could potentially beat Kansas City.
Let's look at the
taking
NFC.
A loser's mentality.
Look at the NFC right now, though. The NFC just got Tom Brady, and now they're building a Tampa Bay that they think could contend for Super Bowl title. You're not working at your old
you don't have to beat all those teams. You don't have to beat You don't have to beat all of Tampa Bay, New Orleans, and every single team in the division.
Yeah, but you got to look
Right?
at who
And the
you're probably
49ers,
going to
and
match
the
up with if
Seahawks,
you do
and the
make it there.
Rams. You don't have to beat all 6 of those teams. You're going to have to beat 3 of them. And the Packers almost did that last season, but their offense wasn't good enough. And now they just threw it away. At this point, with your losers mentality, they might as well go trade Aaron Rodgers away, get some picks, and start the rebuild now. They're pretending.
Hey,
They're pretending to their fans that they're trying to compete when they're not.
Bro. It seems like it's starting with love. This rebuild.
All right, I'm done with this discussion. I just
they still have a great defense.
They're wasting.
So they're still gonna be.
They can't. Games. You just even said they can't win nothing, and they didn't improve from last season. Their offense. They're not winning shit this year.
But they're still gonna maintain their spot probably.
And here's the thing, though. They could have done something through free agency, through trades. Zilch. Zero.
Give me a guy. Give me a guy. Give me what you're sitting in the Packers position. You give me what you would have done.
Give me 1 hour, half an hour. I could put together a plan for you.
You pick up freaking CD.
Trade up for CD. There was a lot of wide receivers that were taken between wide receivers. None of them are taken high because it was a deep. Give me a second. It was a deep wide receiver draft. So nobody was going to take a wide receiver top 10 because there's so many that you can get, right? Later in the draft. There's lots of wide receivers that are good, that are available around their pick. I'm not saying you have to take a wide receiver. And like I just said, you didn't have to do it during the draft. You could have made some trades, some free agent signings, some offseason improvements to your team, and they've done nothing. It's just a way. To me, if you're going to do this, trade Aaron.
I feel if you're going to work, okay, let's say you get yourself some receivers. It don't work out, you're stuck.
What are you stuck?
You're stuck with a good defense, receivers, and an aging quarterback who's probably not gonna. If it doesn't work, I'm saying.
Aaron Rodgers is not going from a B+ quarterback to a D next year. Like, what planet are you living on?
Hey, I'm not saying the way he's playing, but hey, injuries have started to creep in on him. What if it gets worse next year? And you ain't got a fallback quarterback. So
no, a couple of years ago he was more injured. This past season, he only had one injury. I think. Did he even miss a game this past season? No, I don't think so.
100%. Let me check right now.
Can you confirm or deny that?
Oh wow, you may be correct.
I told you, brother.
Yes,
just listen. Leave the details to me. All right.
But I don't know.
Any closing remarks on this segment? I've said all I have to say.
Hopefully, they can get something out of love. That's all I have to say. So it ain't too much of a failure.
All right, shall we touch on the Giants? Who took
your fair pick of the night, huh?
Andrew Thomas is going to be a stud. What? Never heard of him? No surprise there. So, just to give my spiel here, my issue isn't taking an offensive tackle in the first round. It's taking offensive tackle 4th overall. And the offensive tackle they took, obviously I don't know much about offensive tackles going into the draft. Who am I, right? But from all the scouting reports I read, this guy Andrew Thomas was ranked between 3rd to 5th out of offensive tackles heading into the draft. And the Giants somehow said they had 3 offensive tackles ranked the same. Now, to me, it's a failed draft and a failed offseason plan because they weren't able to move down in the draft. You want to take an offensive tackle and you have 3 guys ranked the same? Fine. Move down to 10, 15. You're still going to get one of those 3. But the fact that everybody knew, okay, obviously they're not going to take a QB, right? They didn't want a cornerback. They didn't want whatever else was available at the top of the draft. They put out a fake smoke screen that they were heavily scouting Justin Herbert. Who's going to believe that? You just took Daniel Jones last year. You're going to take Justin Herbert 4th overall now this year? Like, it's not feasible. So it's just terrible management from David Gettleman and the Giants to get forced into taking offensive tackle 4th overall. Like, there's no other way you could have figured this out. It's just embarrassing.
But it kind of shows that they're kind of all in with Daniel Jones, no?
Yeah, no shit. Tell me something I don't know.
No, but I'm saying, like,
they took like 4 offensive tackles. I know our offensive line has been atrocious for 3 or 4 years. Yeah. But to take an offensive tackle 4th overall is just, I don't know. It's not the right decision to me.
I would agree.
But then
The
again,
fourth pick, that's a little crazy.
but then what do you do if you're the Giants, right? You're stuck with the 4th overall pick because you don't know how to coordinate an offseason. So,
Yeah.
give me 1 second. Sorry.
Well, what would you?
So as I was saying there, it's you get stuck with the 4th overall pick. You don't need a QB. Chase Young is taken at number 2. I forget his name, but the elite cornerback was taken at number 3. You pigeonhole yourself. Like, you need an offensive tackle. Do you go and just take somebody else? Like, it's the position they put themselves in tough. And I don't know, maybe they had to. They felt like they had to at that point. They're comfortable with it. But what would you have done if you need offensive tackle help? You stuck with the 4th overall pick. Do you still take that guy, or do you take somebody else, best available player?
I don't like. Okay, so if they're going all in on Daniel Jones, what if they given they gave him an offensive tackle, but maybe built some weapons on the receivers, maybe a running back, right?
Well, you have Saquon
like-
Barkley. What do you mean running back?
Sorry, receivers.
Yeah.
Like, because like as elite
what I
as the
said
running
is-
game is,
Yeah.
you can kind of build in your receiving, and then just make Daniel Jones so much better, especially since he has running back like Saquon Barkley.
The play action would be
offensive game
deadly,
would be
right?
crazy. Yeah.
Their wide receiving core is terrible. You have old man Golden Tate.
Yeah.
Right? This guy was suspended 4 games last season for PEDs. Then got injured, played 3 games, I think, then got injured for the rest of the season. Sterling Shepard is nothing spectacular. He's a 3rd wide receiver at best. He's small, not very quick, doesn't have great hands, lots of drop passes, doesn't get open. So you don't have the receivers. Yeah, lost OBJ. So I don't know. This organization is a mess. Ownership.
I can see though their view though, because let's say you pick up something else and you lose out on getting a tackle that picked by someone else, you're kind of screwed because as you said, their offensive line is terrible, no?
Yeah, but everybody said there's 3 offensive tackles. Everybody said it was pretty equal. The Giants ranked equal.
Where would they pick though? Do you know? The other guys?
I don't know. Later in the first round. I don't think other offensive tackle went that high. I think the next one was maybe around 10 or 12.
So then there's the thing though. So if you pick someone else, and then you're still looking at the offensive tackle, and he's picked by another team. Because how good is having an elite offense if you have a shitty offensive line?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm getting at. Where they got stuck in the position where they had the 4th overall pick, so they kind of had to make the pick at that point. Where I'm upset with is saying the failure is being stuck with that 4th overall pick, being so incompetent in your offseason plan that you can't move that pick, and they really, from what I've read and heard from Adam Schefter and other insiders, they didn't really try forcing the move of that pick until it was too late. So if you had got ahead of that, made your offseason plan, maybe the Dolphins, they wanted to secure that they wanted to get Tua. They would have moved up into the top 4. Maybe somebody else lower. Like, there's so many options out there. To not be able to convince somebody to move to the top 4, even for a minimal gain, just to, maybe you drop down to 15 and you just get a, mid-second round pick. To me, that's a win. You still get a good offensive tackle and you get an extra second round pick. Just to not be able to orchestrate something like that is a failure. And John Mara and the ownership group, I've generally liked them. They told Dave Gettleman he's got 1 year to turn the ship around. I hate when organizations do that. You're giving this guy 1 year, right? Which is fine. I agree he sucks at his job. But then why did you let him fire and hire a new coach this past offseason? Why is he the guy in charge of that if you could let him go in 1 year? And then you're stuck with the coach that he hired, who was a special teams coordinator in New England, has no real experience to be a head coach. Like, David Gettleman has always got to make bold picks with his coaching hires, with taking Daniel Jones last year, 7th overall. He had no business, or 5th overall. I forget what it was. He had no business going that high. And then taking an OT 4th overall. You just got to make bold picks. I don't know.
It's a New York curse, bro. You just can't do it in the draft, and you can't do it in the season.
Listen, how many Bulls Carolina have in your lifetime? Shut up. We got 2 in my life I've seen at least.
I'm putting this New York curse on all sports. Look at freaking the Knicks. They've been shit forever.
Do you include Brooklyn Nets in that curse?
No. New York, not Brooklyn.
Rangers. Rangers are coming up. Islanders are coming up. See?
Fair enough.
Uneducated on the hockey.
Those are in areas that I'm unfamiliar with. So
yeah, just shut your curse up.
Possibly.
There's no New York curse. There's no Drake curse. Curses. The only curses that I ever believed in sports was the Chicago Cubs curse.
Oh, why?
You gotta
Why
give
not
me
believe in it?
you gotta give me like half hour for that. What I can release is a speech I did in the public speaking class in fourth year about that curse and the Red Sox curse and how the same GM ended both curses.
These curses are
Teams
bullshit.
like
Unless you're in New York.
Cubs hadn't won in over 100 years. Red Sox hadn't won in like 85 years. And the same GM ended both curses. That's tremendous. All right.
So then you tell me that this Giants pick was a success, no?
No, hell no. All right. Anything else left to say on the Giants?
On the Giants, no. I ain't got nothing to do with those guys.
All right. Now I don't want to get into Packers anymore because you're missing the whole point. So we'll wrap this up and let's get into the next topic. This week, we've gotten some details on how the National Hockey League plans to return from their COVID-19 season pause. And what it looks like is they're going to host games in 4 different cities, which each division being in a separate city. Now, they're currently investigating 12 different possible locations. And The Athletic, if you're not subscribed to The Athletic, I highly recommend it if you're a sports fan. They broke it down, went by the NHL requirements they listed, and ranked each city. So the NHL requirements for each city would be that their NHL arena has to have a minimum of 4 NHL caliber dressing rooms to be able to play 3 games in one day. They need to have enough 4 or 5-star hotels to fit 7 to 8 teams. They need to not be obviously a COVID-19 hotspot, and sharing an arena with the NBA is not ideal, which we'll get into after because obviously we have no details on the NBA's plans as of yet. Perhaps the NHL does. So the top-ranked cities by The Athletic are Columbus, who I think for sure the Metropolitan Division will end up there, Edmonton, Minnesota, and Toronto. In your second tier, you have Dallas, Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay, Vegas. Now, a new detail we've gotten a couple days ago was the province of Alberta has said they're allowing no groups of larger than 15 people until September. Obviously, NHL game, they'll have 40 plus just for the players. Now, Toronto, our COVID-19 situation is up and down. They think we're in the peak right now. We'll see what it's like when games resume. Now, their plan is calling for 3 weeks of training camp in each respective city, then an end to the regular season before the playoffs. Do you like that?
Would they play out the rest of the games?
I don't think they will do the totality of the games, but I would think it'd maybe be 5 to 7 regular season games and then into playoffs. And
I was going to say those
probably
teams
be
that
you're
are
playing
not
every other day. Yeah, there's some teams that are way out of it, right? Like your Ottawas and Detroit's. But there's a lot of teams, especially in the Atlantic Division, Metropolitan Division, that are right there battling for playoff spots, like 1 point out of a playoff spot. To write those teams off is unfair, especially because teams have different amount of games played. You can go by win percentage, but as McDavid and Crosby and other big players have said, they think going straight into playoffs would be a terrible idea. So if the stars of your game are saying that, you kind of have to listen to them. Do you like that?
It makes sense, though.
Yeah.
You can't get straight to playoffs.
Do you like that plan for the National Hockey League?
It's a good plan, but if you're going to try to avoid NBA teams and all that stuff, your best option is to attack every Canadian city. Because the temperatures won't be too bad for them, right?
Well, Gary Bettman, the NHL commissioner, has said, listen, our rinks are built well enough that weather and warm cities are not going to be an issue.
Winnipeg?
No.
Well, then it's not too bad then. Because they can attack places already allowed for sports and stuff like that, like Florida.
Yeah. In my opinion, I think the cities that you're going to end up seeing games be played in are going to be Columbus, Minnesota, Dallas, Pittsburgh, Vegas, potentially Toronto. I think those are the 7 cities they're going to be focusing on. But really, they're not going to be able to announce anything probably until 3 to 5 days before teams report because the COVID-19 situation is so fluid. Cities' numbers are changing hourly, daily, by the minute, right? Yeah. Toronto is maybe on the borderline of a hotspot now, but it could die off. New York has cooled down. Pittsburgh right now has had, very, very minimal amounts of cases. Same with Columbus. That could change within 2 to 3 weeks if they start blowing up, right? So
Things gonna change quick because once you open, like, example, you said New York's getting a little bit better. Once you open up New York, it's going right back to shit. There's
that's
way
what
too
we
many
think, right?
people, too much clutter. Yeah,
And Tampa Bay would be for the functionality wise, Tampa Bay would be a good situation based off how many rinks are there, the dressing rooms, practice rinks, the hotels,
and
and
they allowed sports
they've
there.
been low in COVID-19 numbers, but other surrounding cities have been large. So the state of Florida to me is one of the most interesting ones. Do you think players would like to go there, but they're going to be locked in their hotel rooms anyways? They're not going to be allowed outside. It's going to be contactless delivery of food. They'll be allowed into training
Yeah,
facilities, and that's it. They won't be enjoying the sun anyways.
that's the only way you can do it though. Because if you're gonna allow the players to play or practice or any of that, then you gotta make sure that those players ain't moving around seeing anybody else, right?
Yeah. Now,
I don't
now,
know. I think it's gonna affect a lot of the players, especially on their want to play. Because
well, their
I've already heard a lot of
routines,
players saying that they don't like that there's no fans to begin with.
yeah, and their
Now
routines
that
are
you're
probably
locking
going to
them
be
down.
compromised too, right? Like,
Exactly.
if there's 3 games being played in an arena in one day, you're not
Yeah.
going to be able to get to the arena. If, say, you're a guy who likes to get there 3-4 hours before game time and go through your routine, well, you're not going to be able
Exactly.
to because your dressing room is not going to be quarantine cleaned. I don't know what the term for it is, but they're
Sanitize.
sanitized. They're disinfecting the rooms between uses, right? So the
Exactly.
training
Yeah.
tables are not going to be open for you to get massages and physio work done and stuff like that. So it's going to be a big adjustment. And then what we were talking about just a few seconds ago with NHL's, they might have to wait until the NBA makes their plan. Like, can they just say
100%.
we're going first, we're announcing first, so we're using Toronto and we're not letting you use the Scotiabank Arena? Well, then the NBA is going to give you a middle finger.
NBA would have no issue with that because it's Toronto.
Yeah,
They're
no,
okay.
I'm saying
Good.
for
Take all the
example,
Canadian
right?
cities.
Yeah,
Yeah.
uh, yeah,
But I think they have to work. They have to work together. If they're gonna do it, they're gonna have to work together. I don't think they can wait for NBA to go first, or they can't wait for the NHL to go first. I think they got to make a collective plan. Okay, you
simultaneously.
guys want to use these cities? We'll use these cities.
Do you like this
You know,
kind of format for the NBA, or do you think the one location is better for them?
I would. I don't know. I think in both cases, one location can work.
I
Can
think
it?
that's tough.
It's tough, and the tough part though would be like, can you imagine like having that many games in one place in a single day?
Yeah,
Like, that's madness.
I
Especially
think.
what if it were to creep up the playoffs and stuff, that would be way worse.
Yeah, and I think it's a little bit different if you're doing one location for NBA than NHL. NBA, a court's a court. You wax that court between games, you're fine.
Exactly.
Even
Yeah.
in the NHL, if you have great built infrastructure for these rinks, if you have everybody in one location, I think even in cities where you're playing, if you go to Dallas or Tampa Bay, I
Yeah.
think there's going to be consequences to the ice if there's 3 consecutive games being played. That ice is going to get so chewed up. And so
Yeah. Like, how are you gonna fix that?
if you had one central location for the NHL, I don't think it would work. I think your ice would get destroyed. But
You
obviously
see,
NBA,
I didn't even freaking think about that.
yeah,
Cause yeah, you can Zamboni and try to clean it up and you know make it a little bit better. But if
I
there's
think with
freaking 10
yeah,
games being played on there, it ain't happening.
no, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, with one
Yes, I
location
guess
hockey
more than NBA, they would need multiple
and
locations.
NHL games are longer than NBA games too.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, they wouldn't be able. Actually, yeah, I didn't even think about in that sense. How would they space out that many games in one day with the amount of time that they really have
NHL
in a
would be
day?
like first game would start at noon, would go like noon to 3. Then a game would be 4 to 7, and then like an 8 to 11.
Yeah, if they
Uh,
had multiple locations, right?
no, that's how it's gonna be because they're planning to do 3 games a day.
Oh, that's it. That's the cutoff.
Yeah, so with each city, they're doing 3 games
Yeah.
a day is the plan right now. So I think the first game would start around noon, which isn't untouched territory for the NHL. A lot of American teams on Sundays and some Saturdays they play games at 12:30 Eastern time.
But if they have multiple locations, though, they can do 3 games here and 3 games here at the same time,
Yeah,
right? And just have six
that's what
games
it's
in a
gonna
day.
be. Yeah.
Okay, see, because I didn't think
Well,
about because
they're
if
gonna
you do
have
one
they're gonna have
location,
12 games a day in the National Hockey League, really,
yeah, okay,
right?
because I
Four
was gonna say if
different
you do one
locations.
location, you can't have 12 games, right?
No, it's impossible.
And then if you want, like, how much? I'm just curious to see how much of the season do they want to play out? Because yeah, obviously, no player wants to go straight to playoffs because playoff mode is completely different season, right?
Yeah,
So you
teams
kind of want those
range.
few seasons. But how many season games is okay for
Depending on the team, I think
each team.
teams range from 9 to 12 games remaining. I don't think they'd play
Yeah.
more than 5 to 7 regular season games per team.
Because now I'm thinking in sense of basketball. Look at the teams that aren't in a playoff spot but are so close to it. Like, how many games do you give them to have a chance to make it?
Well, the NBA had what I think each team had 16 to 20 games left or something
That's what
like
I'm
that.
saying. Yeah, like 20 games. Yeah,
I
more
think
so.
in the NBA you got to give at least 10 regular season games.
That'd be tough then, because how long is this rest of the season and playoffs going to stretch out to?
Listen,
You
there's a
know?
difference in the two leagues, right? NHL, I think they're more going to be willing to try and keep next season at least somewhat normalized. Like it's going to be pushed,
Yeah,
it's going to be pushed back a little bit for sure. But I don't think they want to go in starting with the latest season until November or December. The
yeah.
NBA, I think they're totally okay
I think
and
they're set on
happy.
starting it after Christmas
Yeah,
or
and
whatever.
starting Christmas, I think the NBA is totally fine doing that. Well, now the one thing is, I'm sure that's got to be voted on by the NBA Players Association as well.
Of course,
I
yeah.
don't think players are going to vote to pass that. But obviously, I don't know how the CBA works, whether they even need players' say to do that.
Yeah, because they already have, like, they kind of not have a plan, but they kind of have said we could change the NBA season to starting Christmas, right?
Yeah, permanently.
What would
But
the
that would
NHL
have
do if the what's it called games were to stretch out to kind of interrupt their regular season start? Because you
well,
can't have these players play in playoffs and then be like, oh guys, just so you
yeah, a
know, you're
month
starting in a
later.
few
Yeah.
weeks. Yeah,
No, I
like
think
what?
the NHL has a long preseason. Some teams play 8 games, 9 games, because they're auditioning a lot of guys from the AHL, guys you drafted. I think
Yeah,
preseason would probably be trimmed down to 4 or 5 games, and you.
but
I think you could start November 1st, and then your season would only maybe end a little bit later than it normally would.
so okay, so I don't want to be the say what everyone doesn't want, but how late can you push the start of this restart before you just say let's just cancel the season in a whole and just restart from where we normally start?
Well, let's do some quick math here, right? The NHL wants a 3-week training camp. Then if we
Yeah,
say 5 to 7 games
from
per team, 5 to 7 games, you're probably looking 10 days if you're playing a game every other day, 10 to 14. So that's 5 weeks. So we're
and
pretty
then now
much
playoffs.
we're at the start of May. So even if they got going middle of May, the playoffs wouldn't start until almost end of June.
And do you keep the same format in the playoffs, best of seven series?
I don't think you can.
That's what I'm saying, because then you're kind of pushing it there. So like, I don't want to say it, but like, to what point do you just say, screw this season? I understand everyone's worked so hard, but
Yeah,
we just have a fresh start.
3-week training camp is excessive. NBA is talking about the same thing. I don't think you need three. Obviously, I'm not a pro player. I would think
I
10 days is 12 days is optimal. You can get back into shape. These guys are hopefully still being active wherever they are, right?
oh, I'm
Not to the same
100% there.
not to
Yeah,
the same extent. And some
obviously,
guys
yeah.
are lazier for sure than others. Just for example, CJ McCollum I forget which NBA reporters they're talking to CJ McCollum a couple of weeks ago. And they said that he'd been quarantined for close to a month. They said, have you started your offseason, your workouts yet? He's like, nah, probably in a few days. So 3-4 weeks has gone on.
Really,
CJ hadn't done nothing.
he's
And they
a
were saying
fool,
CJ
bro. He's
McCollum
not even
is one of
planning to
the
make playoffs. That's why.
and they said CJ McCollum is one of the harder working players in the league. And I'm like, I don't know, if he hadn't done nothing for 3 or 4 weeks, I doubt it.
I can kind of see though, maybe motivation got a little shot once you're not uncertain on when it's gonna start and whether it's gonna start at all. Cause kind of like, okay, I can put my body through this and work this hard, and it could amount to nothing. It could be like, okay, well, we're not gonna do the season, so all that work you just put in, it's kind of for nothing. Especially
Yeah,
when you put your
but
body
these
through,
guys
because a
are
lot
not
of these
like
athletes destroy their bodies, bro.
yeah, but these guys are not like us, right? And you're not going your full off season workouts like they're doing now. You don't have the same tools.
Mm.
And they still want to stay in shape. These guys are not if it's not to say oh it's for nothing. These guys are
Yeah,
phenomenal athletes and they're guys
of
who
course.
stay
Yeah.
in shape year round. And the off
Here's the
season,
thing,
they'll
though.
maybe take 2 to 4 weeks off. That's it.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though. So you see a sport like MMA and UFC, they're coming back, right? They're not having much problem because most of the fighters they can figure out a way to
Yeah,
still
totally
maintain
different,
the
right?
same
Totally
training
different, yeah.
and still compete at the level, right? In NHL and NBA, these are team sports. As much as you can do your off-season training on your own, you need that. You need to kind of rebuild that chemistry with your team because you guys were just playing 60 games. So
Yeah.
like, and then you had like 2 months off. What do you do now? You need those 3 weeks. I feel to kind of rebuild. But like with the NBA saying they're not allowing more than 4 players in the same
Well,
practice room.
yeah. So starting May 8th, they're reopening training facilities in states and provinces that they're allowing that. But
Yeah.
it's going to be no more than one player on the court at a time, so solo workouts, and no more than 4 players in the entire facility at a time. And only one staff per player is allowed in the
So
building.
what the hell is the use of that? They could do that at their own private gyms that they probably have at their own
No,
house.
but a lot of players playing don't even have hoops at their house. Like Jimmy Butler sent each of his teammates a basketball court.
That's
Not
crazy
not a
to me.
court, a
Come on,
basketball
bro.
net.
Yeah, you're a pro ball player in the NBA, so you're making crazy money, and you're not gonna get yourself like a
A
at
net.
home practice thing. Yeah, like
Literally, unless you're a rookie, I don't understand how you don't have some sort of net at your house.
exactly, even just a rim, like you're still need to shoot on.
Off your garage.
So no, but I'm saying, so if the NBA does do that, what's the point of doing that? Because you're doing the same shit that some of the stars are already doing at home.
Yeah, I don't know.
Drake's doing it for God's sakes at his own house.
Yeah.
You know, like he's not an NBA player, but
But
he has
Drake,
his own
Drake
court.
makes more than some NBA players.
Well, probably, probably more
Obviously,
than a
well,
lot of them.
but if you think of it, even if now the way wages are in the NBA, if you're like a sixth guy off the bench, you'd be making 15 million a year. You do that for
You can't
five,
afford a
6 years.
court? Like
You
what?
do that for 5, 6 years. You've made the same amount as Drake, biggest artist in the world.
You go. I don't know I don't know what that's the kind. To me, it's from hearing about it now. It sounds like a useless plan for training camp. Because if you
Yeah.
can't have them play together, they're
Well,
not.
this is not
That's
their
what
training.
practice
This is
was
not their
for.
training camp. They still planning to have a 3 week actual training camp whenever they resume. But I don't know, I had held out faith that maybe we see some sports. Early on, I said NHL might not come back. I
Yeah.
just doing that
But
quick math with you, man. With
your
that
reasoning
3 week
was
plan,
the temperatures, though.
yeah. But even just doing the quick math, 3 week plan, even if you start training camp middle of May, that takes you to second week of June, 2 weeks of regular season. You're now starting playoffs last week of June.
That's why. That's where you're
How
gonna
could
start
that?
changing the format, bro.
Yeah, you
Especially with
lower.
the playoffs.
Maybe the first 2 rounds are best of 5, then conference finals and finals are best of 7, and then next season is starting in November, December. There's no way around it. And then you're condensing next season's schedule. Maybe it's 70 games instead of 82. But then
No.
you have to balance that out. Our owner's gonna say, I don't want to short his schedule next season because that's less money. Well, okay, well, if you lose all of this season, you're losing all that money.
The NBA has talked about shortening the season, though, no?
Yeah, but that was to have a mid-season tournament, which I think they realized was stupid and they scrapped it. Because what motivation would there be
Thank
for
God.
players to play in a mid-season tournament?
I don't know how this way would work with the NHL, but NBA, I feel like instead of like, oh, okay, so I'm sure every player wants to play before you get into playoffs, but why not just reserve the rest of the season games to guys who are there to make the play, like almost there to make playoffs, like the bottom teams, instead
That's
of
what I was saying.
just having everyone. Like, what's the point of
Yeah.
Lakers playing 3 more games before they go to the playoffs? You know?
Well, no, LeBron James says he needs games. He said now that he's older, his body is like shut down because it shuts down quicker when he's older because you have to work harder to keep it in shape. And he said the first few days of the quarantine, his body was like screaming at him, like, dude, what are you doing? Like, we were ramping up, rounding third base, getting ready for the playoffs here, and now you just cold turkey shut it down. But I think it should be some sort of play-in system. Instead of bringing all the teams back, go by win percentage, like calculated for the NHL. You go from a 5-0 win percentage and above. You play in your play-in. That cuts down games too. Give them 3 or 4 game play-in, maybe a mini little tournament. And that saves you probably, 10, 12 days.
Exactly. Or even if the top, okay, so guys like LeBron, I need a game. Give them a game or two. Don't do anything crazy. You don't need them to play out their rest of the season. That makes no. Like, they don't need 20 more games.
LeBron first round, he's gonna chill anyways.
Who's gonna go off?
Who's the 8th seed? Memphis.
Memphis, yeah. But you see, that's what I'm saying. Memphis, New Orleans, and Portland, they're all there. They're all like 1 or 2 games behind. So you need them to kind of like
play it out.
They can play those games, but I don't see a point of it for the top like 3, 4 teams.
Well, hey, for those top teams, like just to save on time, they might make that adjustment and not allow everybody the same amount of games.
Maybe.
Maybe it's exhibition games.
I don't know how
Just
they're gonna
just
play it
to
out, really.
maybe it's the lower teams play against each other, right? Six
Yeah.
seed to whatever two or three teams that are right out of there. So you have 4 or 5 teams play a mini tournament. Maybe the rest of the teams just play little exhibition games, 2 exhibition games to get your legs going, and then the
Yeah.
chemistry.
My hopes were high, thinking maybe if we can come back in May, the sports, then we can actually have play out the season and whatever. Right now, I'm starting to lean towards. I don't think this is coming back at all.
At all, eh? Both leagues.
Yeah, because I just in terms of time. Sorry, that was me.
Yeah.
Just in terms of time, I don't see them having time in just a month or two.
Yeah.
Because those guys don't. They need an off season. It's not like you can tell them,
Oh,
hey,
but that's why we'll wrap up here. But
continue training.
that's why I'm saying I think NBA will come back because they don't care about starting next season later. They can still give the players a 2 month off season. The
Yeah.
NHL, I don't think is going to be as willing to delay next season into December. So I think NHL's more the possibility of just canceling their season.
Yeah, I can see it happening.
All right, we'll end off with Deshaun Hightower. A very interesting story here
Heartbreaking.
that came across our news feeds on Sunday. He was arrested, I think it was Saturday evening. And
It was late at night, yeah.
yeah.
No, it wasn't. It was evening? Well, it doesn't really matter. Regardless, he was arrested.
Anyways, do you want to give the story of what happened, why he was arrested to the people if they're unaware? And this is a guy who just declared he was entering the NBA draft, averaged 16 points per game, good shooting percentage.
Which is,
He would have been at least a second round pick.
At least, right?
Yeah.
That's why. This is the only reason why I thought this was more of a story to talk about and to explore. Aside from, like, let's say, some bottom of the draft guy would this happen to, right?
Well, there's only 2 rounds in the NBA, but he would have been taken in the second round.
Yeah, but early in this. If it is the second, it's early in the second.
Yeah.
But again, so I guess he gets a knock on his door one day, goes to the door.
April 8th.
I don't know full facts. So this is, I don't think anyone does yet.
This is his lawyer's story.
Yeah. Some guy at the door is pointing a gun at him. And what the cops believe is Hightower was the one to kill him. But what his attorney is saying is his brother came up, saw this guy pointing a gun at Hightower, and killed him instead.
Yeah.
Either way, though, from just hearing this story, I don't understand why Deshaun Hightower is being held in a county jail without bond right now. Because both stories to me sound self-defense, no? If he was the one to shoot and kill the victim, the victim was, from what they say, was planning to do the same to him.
Yeah.
So, in what, I don't know, because if he's being held in prison, very much hope for him making that draft. And that's heartbreaking because especially a guy who's done so good in college.
I think, the story of the county department and the lawyers are totally unmatching because the police are saying they've arrested 5 of the 6 people involved in the murder. If it was as simple as a guy walking up to a door, like that story, how's there room for 6 people to be involved in that murder? Unless it was they were involved in trying to cover it up.
And it wouldn't be like the fact that they put murder to the charge. It makes no sense because that's not murder. If it was
not like involuntary manslaughter or anything, yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so
I don't know. I read it and I felt for him because this, like, he had a chance to make it. Because think, 16 points a game in college, you're making it to the league. You make it to the league, you're making millions.
If the game was the same length as an NBA game, you're probably averaging 19, 20 points.
Exactly. So you're making the NBA, and you're making the NBA. Life's changing not just for you, but your whole family. So keeping him out of this draft could, just make things a lot worse for him and everyone around him.
Yeah,
I don't know too much about it. We got to explore it maybe a bit later, but
yeah, we'll wait for some more details to come up before we give more opinions. But I just think when you see stories like this, it makes you think this guy had the world in front of him, and even if it's true where a guy came up to his door with a gun, well, that guy probably had some reason to go up to Deshaun's door with a gun, right? So the way these
It's
guys
who you
grow
involve
up,
yourself with, right?
the way these guys grow up, they can't often leave their lives behind. That's like what we talked about in the New Toronto 3 review with Tory Lanez to an extent, right? And
Yeah.
that's just it's the world these guys live up. Sports is their release and their opportunity, but sometimes they can't fully put both feet forward into sports. One foot's in, one foot's still out into their previous life.
Especially
And it
at
just
that
sucks when you see
level,
these
man.
happen,
Yeah.
man. Guy had the world in front of him. He just screwed up the bag, screwed up taking care of his family. Whether you committed the murder or not, it's just putting yourself in that situation is unfortunate.
Yeah. And not even that. Like a lot of media is gonna be attacking this, so I don't see a lot of teams wanting to draft
Listen,
someone like this.
even if he's found non-guilty and it's his brother and whatever, he's not drafted. His career is over. He's done.
Exactly.
Well, the thing is, he hadn't officially committed because he's
Yeah.
wanted his agent to kind of see where he would go and keep his eligibility to return to College of Tucson or University of Tucson. Tucson has
Either way.
kicked him out of the school now, so he can't even go back to NCAA. And if he doesn't get drafted, well, now you may be going to overseas. Hopefully, you can grind out overseas, show that you can play, and potentially maybe then down the line get a G League contract and work your way up to the NBA. That's best case scenario for Mr. Hightower now, when he had a lot easier path ahead of him.
They do have that. I don't know if you've seen it, but on Netflix they released a documentary about Sam Quinton, the prison.
Yeah,
And it was a thing. It was about they're like a basketball team, a prison basketball team.
Yeah.
And at the end of the year, since it's Sam Quinton, they take the G League, the
Oh,
Golden
the
State
G League
Warriors,
Warriors. Yeah, you mentioned it to
and
me.
make them play against them. And one of the guys from that prison actually got put onto the G League team.
Really? When he got out? That's incredible.
Because he gets out at the end of the season. So obviously I don't want Hightower to go through that, but I'm just saying, like, there's not much chances once you hit that point of life.
Yeah, very minimal. One topic I just thought of, we'll touch on it quickly now. We'll get into maybe next episode. NCAA has got a big problem on their hand now with the G League starting to pay 18-year-olds coming out of high school. A couple of the biggest recruits in the country had signed with the G League for $100,000 contracts, $200,000 contracts, and some on actual G League teams. One, I forget his name, is going with an academy G League team that's going to travel around and just do pro training. But a gentleman who committed to UCLA just announced last night or this morning he's decommitting from the UCLA to sign a $300,000 contract in the G League. The NCAA has got a big problem on their hands now, and I think a lot of their elite talent is going to stop going to the NCAA there. So that means it's going to go downhill. Why would you go there? You're losing your talent. Your ratings are going down. Your money's going down.
You're putting yourself at risk too, man.
Exactly.
In a way you are, because look what happened to Zion when his shoe exploded.
Okay. That could happen in the G
something
League
worse
too.
happened, but I'm saying, like, you were playing at a college game. You
weren't making any money. Yeah. If that happened in the G League, at least you had a paycheck, right? So I think the NCAA's now, they're going to be forced to move towards paying their players. And maybe we'll dive into that next episode a little bit more. Yeah. I think there's about 5 guys who have done it so far this year.
Who've done what?
That have gone the G League route to get paid as opposed to NCAA.
Why wouldn't you?
Well,
I'm not surprised if I see even more in the future.
Any closing regards for this episode, my friend?
No, sir.
All right. Looking forward to The Last Dance next couple episodes.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
For Adis we are officially
out of the mix.
Out of the mix.
Thank you for watching, guys. Have a good one.